Andy, this is where I think you guys are going to have your finger on the pulse here. Obviously, this is something that goes on and has gone on for decades now in Vegas. Maybe outside of Vegas, I can't confirm or deny whether or not that takes place. But this is something that's growing substantially. Pandemic may have helped it. DraftKings, though, the question I have is, how important is loyalty going to be in this space? And is the first one you sign up for maybe the one you just stick with out of convenience?
I think that there's a lot to that. Just to kind of echo what Jenny was talking about, when we look at sports betting overall and just how many people are talking about betting sports, it's a serious increase. It's up 30% in the last month versus prior quarter. Just a real nice ramp up and to the right. And when you look at this calendar, though, it's a little odd because you've got the NBA restarting in the summer, you got Major League Baseball coming back on, NFL season all at once, and the Masters in the fall, and the Kentucky Derby in the fall. So it's like we put everything together. So it's kind of a little bit of an unfair look at sports betting on a year-over-year basis. But DraftKings doing really well, I would say. We see purchase intent, which means people downloading the app, making a deposit, talking about betting with the company. That's up 102% just quarter over quarter, 161% year over year, and really maintaining that momentum. So in terms of who's winning in this race, I think clearly DraftKings is doing a very good job. But in terms of loyalty, you mentioned that, Alex. One thing that we see with DraftKings is kind of a little bit iffy is, the consumer happiness with the company is 60% happy, which normally isn't bad for a gambling site because a lot of people lose money on those and sometimes they aren't so happy about it. But it's down 8% year over year. And the reason for that is that they have platform outages, and it's really due to so many people coming onto the app at the same time and kind of killing what they're doing. So that's one way to really quickly lose a customer, is when they've deposited money with you and they can't place the bet that they want to place. So I think that there's still a lot to be determined in terms of consumer loyalty among these names. When it's easy enough to fund with a credit card with one, that means it is with another. And legalization tends to bring more and more competition. So I think with DraftKings, looks good so far. They've got a tailwind, a macro tailwind. They look to be a winner in the space, but more competition is definitely on the way.
Andy, two of the things that Jenny reported on, I think are, and I need you to help me with, which is more important for this name as the news starts to evolve. The fact that they're only currently in 9 states, about to expand to 12, and hopefully continue to expand. Is that the most important part, or is it pandemic related? Is the pandemic and sports getting more predictable and real back to their regular seasons? Is that more important? Which do you guys think, or does your data show that that's more important for the growth of this company?
Well, I think overall, Kevin, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said we're at about, even with the new states coming online, that's still only 25% coverage, and you're not even talking about some of the most populous states. So from a population percentage, right, I think you're still pretty low. So I think that's definitely the biggest story for upside for the company. I think that some of the, when you look at the pandemic type of info, it's really tough to discern whether or not this is helping DraftKings or hurting them, because more people are at home looking for things to do, possibly with a little more disposable income because they're not going out to eat and those types of things. So they got some money to spend. What's the difference between putting $50 on the Bears and losing that, or going to a steak dinner and spending $50 there? Kind of the same thing. And so I think that helps them in some regards. But on the same token, sports is just so disrupted and it's so weird, and you can't count on anything actually happening the way it used to, that a lot of bettors may be reticent to jump into the action. So I think it kind of works both ways, but overall, the story is probably legalization can fourfold their market over the next little bit if they're successful
Right.
at doing so.
And that's really kind of what the investment's on. But you look at kind of the ecosystem, you look at the situation from a bird's eye view, Andy. I mean, you watch a football game now, there's a lot more, even conversation from the announcers around it. There's sports betting shows on major networks that cover sports. This was all taboo 2-3 years ago. And so you can see the trend going to a certain direction. And when you're watching this on Twitter, do you feel that there's a lot more openness about this kind of a conversation than even there was just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, everyone in this industry, even though they're competitors, owes a debt of gratitude to Barstool Sports for really bringing this to the forefront, for bringing this to a fun conversation that people openly talk about and participate in. It's not, something that everybody's doing under the table or whispers about anymore. And I think a lot of that is due to the way Barstool approached it. And now they're in the game through Penn Gaming. And so it's very interesting to watch. I think it's fun to watch all of this play out. It's going to be just as fun watching these companies compete with each other as it might be watching some of these teams play on the field.